Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. This spring and going into early summer, and possibly even longer than that, I plan on collecting as great a variety of live foods as I can from a fish room. I really want to expand the culturing I'm doing. I want to have a gradient of cultures that can go from the really microscopic all the way up to food sizes that I can feed to juveniles and sub-adults. I don't necessarily want them to be pure cultures, but I definitely want them to have that size gradient in them. So to that end, I went out to a number of places outside the city limits, and one of the places I went to is this woodland pond. I mean, it is truly a lovely little spot, and I thought it'd be great for getting such organisms. As it turns out, it is not quite barren, but it was really a disappointment. The next spot I went to is I went back here. This is a creek that is actually beside one of the major highways heading into the city. And it is the one that I went to last summer and got that really nice Daphne culture going out of. So I went back here and I collected from a number of spots around here, and it was great. It's thriving. It's got all kinds of life in there, and I was very happy about that. So I am going to start off with this. I'm going to do some subcultures from this. But this is not the only place I'm going to go to. I am going to try a few others as well. I definitely want, I said, get as great a variety as I can. And just being able to get out of the house and go do things is actually a pleasure all by itself. So I took all the stuff I collected from there and I dumped it in this tub. And as you can see, if you ignore the water bugs, there's all kinds of things scooting around in here. Cyclopses, Daphnia, and seed shrimps, and obviously a lot of microscopic stuff that you won't be able to see. Which reminds me, if you stick around to near the end of this video, I am going to do some microscope work on stuff I found in here, and some of it is actually really kind of cool looking. So last summer what I did is I took a bunch of stuff out of this and just threw it in those 15-gallon tanks and let it do its thing, and it was fine. It gave me lots of nice cultures, but I don't really want to put everything into that sort of small selection of cultures again. I want to get as great a varieties going as possible so that if one of them crashes, I will still have others. So I'm going to start using those jars that I was using for the vinegar eel cultures. I really like the size of them. They're big enough to get enough water in there, and I can set up a number of different types and different styles and see what works. So what I did is I went with a pipette into that tub and I pulled out, I think about 5 different times, a bunch of different things. And here you can see there's mostly cyclopses, some seed shrimp, and I think there's a Daphne or 2 as well. And I inoculated 2 initially. I took green water from one of the 15-gallon tanks. It was almost a pure culture now. I'm going to show you a clip of that as well. And I inoculated 2 of those containers with this, and I am going to do more of them as well. On top of that, in an effort to find possibly better ways of doing culturing, I am going to set up a few others that are different, that I haven't tried before. Well, technically one I have tried before, but it is of not the right material yet. And I'll get to that in a second. So these are the 2 green water ones, and these are just like the next day after setting them up. And I'm hoping in about a week I am going to check to see how they're doing. I'll use the microscope, of course, to check it out. So far I can see that there are things flitting around in there, and that's great. And like I said, I want to set up about another half a dozen at least of this style, because I know the green water will work for getting Daphne going. So I want to make sure that I have lots of that, because I actually really like Daphne for this. And the other 2 that I wanted to start off, first off, one of them is, believe it or not, sterilized cow manure. I found it in a local shop that we have here for gardening, and I put a little bit of it in the bottom. You see it's the one on the right. I wanted to first off test to see if it was going to smell at all, but it is perfectly fine. There's no issues with that. This is just the roadside grass I told you about, and it actually smells bad. I may not continue this. What I want to get instead is I want to get some hay. Timothy hay, and is really good for paramecia culturing, and not in that quantity, of course, either. So I want to get that going for sure. They both are showing signs of life, which is great, but I said this is just an attempt to see if I can find a better way of doing things. I haven't done any fiddling with the concentrations of either of them. I am just going to go and see what I can get out of this, and then I'm going to proceed from there. Now, the other thing I wanted to do, the vinegar eels set me off on this. This is the same concentration as used for culturing the vinegar eels and a piece of apple, and I poured in some of the material that I got from that collection, and I'm going to see if anything grows in here, not just hopefully nematodes. So that's just this is just for interest's sake. I don't really expect much to show to this, but you never know. Now, one other thing I did, because I do want to set up a few things that are a little bit hopefully more predictable, I actually looked online and found a place that I can get fairy shrimp, which is excellent. I really do want to grow fairy shrimp. I would rather have them than brine shrimp because, well, there's no salt involved, so it's a lot simpler, hopefully. And also I got a pure culture for, well, water fleas or daphnia, so I want to get those going too. And that is another project I have on the go for live food. So this is the left hand of those two 15-gallon tanks, and there's an awful lot of nematodes in here. There are some other things floating in this, but I actually don't really care for how this one is looking microscopically. So I'm going to probably clean that out, sterilize it, and inoculate it with this one here. This one's almost a pure free-floating algae culture, which is excellent. This is what I wanted. I have been feeding from this one here into the culture I have, the hatchlings for the rainbow fish fry, and they are doing excellent on this. And like I said, I want to keep this one going. And another reason why I just don't want to pour pond water into this and end up contaminating it and possibly, you know, not having my nice green water anymore. So this is a daphnia that I managed to isolate out of that big tub, and it was just kind of cool just to scan around and have a look at its body structure. There's an awful lot going on here for something that's, you know, less than a millimeter in size. If probably, truth be told, it's probably what, a half a millimeter in size. This was one of the bigger ones, and then I managed to isolate one as well that was holding eggs, which is kind of neat. This is another daphnia. This is definitely a moina, I think. It definitely has the right structures and everything. I'm probably mispronouncing that, but it is looking, like I said, it's got eggs in it, and actually really kind of cool. I also had to look around for other things besides daphnia and cyclopses and the usual stuff I've already shown you before. So I had a good look. I got some of the algae out of that tub and saw what was clinging to it, and I actually really ended up with a really nice clip here of this little guy. This is a stentor, and it has reflexes that are envious of almost anything. Someone's going to go by here and bump it in a second, and it just contracts so fast. There you go. And like that is just absolutely amazing. It is a filter feeder, and it's in there doing its thing, and it's actually, like I said, really kind of cool. And you also see lots of other things buzzing around here. So I said, I don't really want to culture this, but I do want to culture a lot of the other things swimming around there, and that's something that's kind of a goal of mine for all this. And I found this guy. I have no idea what he is. He kind of looks a little bit like a sea shrimp, but I don't know, because it's got these things on its sides there. I don't know what they are, but it was kind of a cool clip, so I put it in here. And the last clip for this video is just going to be a baby brine shrimp nopali, and it's going to be just flitting around. This is at the same magnification as I had those others. So anyway, thank you very much for watching. Definitely leave some comments below. Let me know what you think about culturing, and if you have any suggestions on some of this, that would be much appreciated. And as always, I'll see you in the next video, and bye for now.